Hey everybody, youtube.com/Bryan Fonseca. Thank you for watching. If you are, a little bit of a different video on the channel today. Yes, I cover sports for a living, a little bit of everything, basketball and boxing in particular, but also will dabble in some other things. I'm also an avid video game player, and I get 2K almost every year, NBA 2K that is, but some of my friends have NBA 2K fatigue, so thought it'd be time to sort of revisit this conversation, whether or not 2K is worth buying this year, whether or not we're going to get it. So brought a few of my friends, Dexter Henry, who covers sports at the New York Post. You can find Jeff Eisenband, who's going to be in this video as well, covering golf and 2K, was a reporter at the 2K League, but also has his golf show, Eyes on Golf, EIS on Golf, and does some work with the PGA Tour. Then you have Alex Toledo from 5 Reasons Sports Network covering the Miami Heat with the 5 on the Floor podcast and just overall post-game coverage, pre-game coverage, and things of that nature. So 3 of my guys here, we're going to be talking about 2K because we all get this game every year. We all play this every year. We're going to talk about whether or not it's worth getting this time around. Then at the very end of this video, I'm going to give you my thoughts as it pertains to what I'm going to do as it relates to NBA 2K25. So watch the video, then stick around for that because that's how we're going to close. See y'all later. All right, Jeff Eisenband here. Alex Toledo's here. Dexter Henry here. When did you get into 2K, first of all? Because for me, it was 2K8 was my first one. Early, very early teenage years at that point.
I was one of those people holding on to Live, even when it was a wrap. I knew it was a wrap, and I was still holding on like, nah, this is what I played. Because, look, I was with EA for a long time. I was with EA from, I'm just showing my age here, Bulls versus Blazers. That's 91, right? That's before they called it NBA Live. 94 was NBA Showdown, then 95 was the first Live. 2K14, that was the first one that I had purchased, and I was like, okay.
More recent than I thought.
Yeah, so 10 years for me. Going on 11.
Well, I mean, I started with NBA Live first as far as like basketball video games, and before that, NBA Street is what got me into the sport in the first place. So 2K was like a little bit down the list, but as far as first 2Ks, the ones with Shaq on the cover, I want to say like 2K6 and 2K7.
Oh, you have me beat. I was still playing Live at that point.
I had because I had the NBA Live 06 with D Wade on the cover.
I remember N64 getting NBA Live 2000. And I remember getting NBA Showtime for, I think, Nintendo 64, right? Which would have been the NBA on NBC, like back with Round Ball Rock.
I had that for Game Boy Color.
So those are my first basketball games. I remember I just wanted NBA Live, and I remember getting GameCube for the first time. And my parents got me NBA 2K2 with Allen Iverson on the cover. And I was like thrown off. You know, there was a controller or two that was different than EA Sports. I think I returned to a couple NBA Lives then, but eventually stuck on the NBA 2K train, probably around NBA 2K10, I would say.
Listen, if I'm being honest, Brian, Live was over after 2010. It was a wrap. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you how I knew. I'll never forget. I was working for News 12. I was with my man, Dan Serafin. Shout out to Dan Serafin. I was with him, and we were covering this event that they were having, this Fan Fest event. And we go to this event, and they literally had PlayStation 4s and I guess Xbox, whatever it was at the time, one, I assume. And they had them, and they had 2K and they had Live.
Oh, shit.
And nobody was sitting at Live. I mean, nobody. Like, kids would come in, hop on it, and that's when I was like, damn, it's really a wrap. Like, I already had been off of it, but like, I was like, damn, Live, this was just such a bad look for Live. I was like, man, I don't even know why they put the game there.
I got my first Xbox in 2003 when NBA Live 04 came out. That was like my first game, and I was there basically through 07 and then 2K8 and been 2K ever since. So
when they put Jordan and Kobe on the covers, like right around that 2010, 2011, 2012, that was game over right there.
Yeah. 2K10 was the first one that I played online religiously, to the point where I was ranked in like the top 110 at one point because I had nothing but time. It was that, high school. And like head to head, I was whooping people's ass with the Orlando Magic. Like,
I've been off the online play for quite some time. I don't have time to be battling 15-year-olds. I don't have time for that.
2K has basically had a stranglehold on basketball games ever since. Some people think it's gotten pretty stagnant. This is what happened with Madden at a point, and the show at a point, and NHL at a point. And I would still say like these games, for the most part, probably Madden notwithstanding, but for the most part, these games are still good. It's just like, all right, there's not a lot of distinction from one through the other. Where are you at in terms of, is this game still worth purchasing at this point? Will you be purchasing it personally?
Yeah, it just feels like a formality, like an annual thing that we go through every year. Especially with my friends and I, where like they end up saying like, "Oh, we're definitely not buying it this year," and they end up buying it. But I'm very separated from my friends and from like the average 2K player, because I don't create a player anymore. I haven't done that in a while. I don't play
Really?
Park. I don't play Rec. I mean, I've done it like sometimes over the past few years, but that's not what I play 2K for. I really just do that sometimes to play with friends. I'm mostly a quick play guy, so I'm very much like a 2K boomer. I play a lot of quick play online. You're not gonna find me ever playing that garbage game mode, My Team. Never. You're gonna find me playing that. I don't know if you're up on that, but that is the craziest
I don't play it.
BS.
I think that, NBA 2K over time realized they had to evolve when the internet came along, and NBA 2K did an outstanding job 8 to 10 years ago making sure that the online play was different, whether it was evolving into the neighborhood, really honing in on the arcade style of NBA 2K, but also having the Pro-Am mode, which ended up being the NBA 2K League, having various forms of competition online and evolving that year after year. And I think that mirrors a lot what you see in combat games or other forms of, first person shooters, where they may not come out every year, but every couple of years there's enough time to change things up. So there's been less reliance on the rosters. I think now you're talking from a sense of, well, how much more does the game evolve? Video games have evolved so much. You're basically, so many teenagers, Gen Zers, are playing NBA 2K and envisioning themselves or a version of themselves that they wish they were, with a pink mohawk and 7 feet and wearing clothes that they don't actually look good in, but whatever it may be. And I think that's what drives a lot of people to buy these games. And I think where you're seeing some of the stagnance in it is people looking around and being, saying, what's the difference between the online play from year to year? For me, I still care about the rosters changing. And maybe we're dinosaurs, but I think you're seeing it in EA Sports College Football 25. That has come back now, and you're seeing hours and hours of people streaming and playing their dynasty modes, creating a program. And I think that there's still something to be said where if NBA 2K can figure out how to add to the dynasty mode element for someone like myself who's 31 years old. I don't know when you're releasing this, but I'm getting married in a month, Bryan. I can't put in the time to build my player up.
I never expect the games to be that much different. I do think it's a fair criticism that people have that all you're really getting at some point is a roster update. So why can't these companies just update the rosters and keep it moving for a couple of years? I mean, the answer to that is pretty simple. It's capitalism. They're not going to do that because they believe, and I'm part of the problem here too, are going to buy this and spend this and then spend money on it, and then they're continuing. They think the demand is there. But the key thing I think you're talking about, B, is the demand. Everything has a tipping point. I'm a big believer in that. Everything has a tipping point.
Agreed.
And so are we at that tipping point? I'm not 100% sure, because to answer your question, am I going to buy it this year? The plan for me was yes. And the reason why I'd probably buy it this year, although I will note the way I buy 2K generally the last couple of years, just because I don't have as much time, is I usually grab it on the PlayStation Black Friday sale, get it for like half off or whatever it is. We're already like 20 games into the season, and then I usually grab it. Okay, that's probably what I'll do again. But the reason I'm probably inclined to get it this year is this is the first year in quite some time that the team that I grew up rooting for, the New York Knicks, who I generally play with on 2K, the roster's going to be really good. I can remember the last time the roster would be this good on 2K.
A big reason why I might want to buy this game is I want to see the New York Knicks as a championship contender, right? I want to play as Brunson, Bridges, Hart, Randall, Anunoby. I want to play as this great Knicks team. But what I also might want to do is say, can I build the Detroit Pistons into a championship contender?
So I might be inclined to get it. However, with all that being said, I do think I'm at a point where I'm going to really start thinking about this might be an every other year buy for me. Last year's game, what I will say about last year's game, I actually played a lot more of the WNBA than I ever had before. And I, you know, because I've been watching more of the league, big WNBA fan, I do a lot of coverage on it, and I really like the WNBA play. And I still think there's actually room for improvement in that part of the game that I would like to see.
At least you could finally do like My League with them now, which
which I liked. And last season I was able to do that, and that was fun. And I still think that's the thing I'd like to see pushed more with the game. I just think we're at a point with sports games, Bryan, where I've made this comparison to you before. It's like cell phone technology. I've noticed the last couple of years, I'll go longer between cell phones. At some point, I used to change my cell phone every 18 months to 24 months. The gap between my last cell phone was like 3.5 years because the technology is not changing that much. The processors are fast. Like there was a time where the processors were trying to catch up with the apps and everything you're doing, but now we're at this point where it's like, it's pretty stable. So until something revolutionary comes along with like cell phone technology, I don't think people are upgrading as quickly as they used to. And I wonder if we're getting to that same point with sports video games. What's the last thing? I'm going to throw something back at you. You know, this is the journalist in me doing this, Bryan.
Yeah.
What's the last thing that wowed you in a sports video game, a feature that you were just like, yo, this is revolutionary? You don't really have that. I'm not saying that has to happen every year. That is way too much to ask of development.
Right.
I respect the work that's put into these games and people who work on these games. But when's the last time you've been wowed or said something's been really revolutionary or a really cool feature in the game?
I'll give 2K credit for this. I love the MyEras thing. That's what I normally play. I play eras. I, started one from the 2010s. I want to do another one from like the 80s at some point.
What I do like about, what 2K has done over the past couple of years is like they've added like the eras, right?
Yes.
So you can go into another era and rebuild the team. It's like a time machine sort of, but with that MyGM mode. So I haven't really done much of it, but I think it's a cool concept, and I think they're like gonna expand on it or something. I think they're adding another era, the Warriors kind of era, in this next one. So that's cool. But other than that, they've just got me on lock. Like they've got me in a chokehold because I play a lot of quick play online. I enjoy playing it, and people like me are the reason that the game doesn't get better.
You can sort of pick up and start and rewrite history, or go along with history, add yourself to history, which is kind of like a different version of My Player, if you will, and you could just play as your guy, but like in this My League mode that starts whenever.
I don't know how much more you could build upon that. I think that's been one of the fresher additions. I do agree with you to the game, and I think also the reason I love it, it lets people learn more about history. If you love hoops, you can go back and learn a little bit more about different things in different eras. So I think that's dope.
I think that's something that's been great, but that could use some tweaking as well. Maybe just being nitpicky, but there are other elements of like, okay, what are the actual next steps to take beyond that? Because that's something that they just added, but it doesn't feel like, to your point, there's been a lot of resources sort of devoted to My League, My GM, which I feel like after that one storyline a few years back of like, you're beefing with the owner's son, and then the Seattle Sonics are back in the fold and all these different things, like there hasn't been a lot there.
The people who are NBA fans who have been around, they're going to have this conversation that we're having right now. They're going to talk it out. They're going to tell themselves they're not going to buy it. But at the end of the day, if you care about the sport and gaming and all that comes with it, you end up buying the game. And maybe that sounds defeatist, but at the same time, it's like there's something that NBA 2K has that you can't stay in the online, especially the kids that are going to argue against it. You can't stay in the online mode from a year ago because everyone's going to start moving to the next game. It's going to push those, especially those who play online, to keep getting the new game.
You are getting it this year, yes or no?
Most likely, yeah.
Okay. Your process of getting this game is what? Are you like day one? Are you pre-ordering it? You're day one getting it. Okay.
I'm ashamed to say it, but I'm being honest. I'm most likely getting it day one. I'm probably not gonna buy like the one that comes with all the VC. Like I'm most likely just gonna buy standard version because I've got a bunch of VC just rotting there on my current 2K. So I don't, and like I said, I don't create a player. I don't do any of that. So I'm standard version, right? I'm not gonna overindulge, but yeah, most likely I'm gonna have it day one like a shameless loser.
Are you gonna get the game this year?
I am, but I'm gonna get the game specifically because the New York Knicks are going to be the best that they've been in a video game probably in 15, 20, 30 years.
Since 2K13 when they had the 54-win Melo team. That's probably because that team was great on 2K. They were awesome.
Maybe, but really that team, Melo was automatic on that team. Steve Novak, as I had that game, his rating kept going up and up as the season went along. But like, I remember I was in college at the time. That was my sophomore year of college. I remember I had one friend, same move with Melo, dribble to the right, elbow three, fade away three, every time, automatic. We're like, how do you stop this? That was the year he led the league in scoring that year.
I'm probably going to be a sucker and buy it this year.
Black Friday though, so
Black
you wait
Friday,
for like
though.
a significant sale.
Yeah.
But if they're getting killed, unlike previous 2Ks, because recent 2Ks have gotten killed, will a rating affect you in any way, or are you just like, look, I'm gonna get it Black Friday, I'll play it when I play it, and we'll just be on to the next?
I would say I generally don't like to have ratings or reviews affect what I'm about to consume, any kind of art. But with video games, especially like with series, that I do care about what certain people say. So, you know, I'll look and see what IGN will rate something. And I just went back because I couldn't remember. And I was looking this up as we were talking. And I was like, oh, what did IGN give 2K24? Because I remembered it not being great. It was a 6. And I usually will say that some of the reviews, some of the reviews, 6 is okay, just to let everybody know. When it comes to IGN scoring. And the year before, it was also a 6 for 2K23.
It's been getting like 6s, 7. It used to get 8+ all the time. Same thing with the show. Same thing with a lot of these series.
And the person who's reviewed it is Ben Vollmer. I want to give him, because he's kind of been the lead reviewer on that. But the thing that I keep seeing consistently in his critiques, which I do think is fair, he doesn't like microtransactions in the game. So,
that's everywhere now.
Yeah, it is. It's everywhere now. But I do see how for a game like 2K, if you're trying to enjoy the breadth of the experience of it, that does kind of affect it, right? Like in how you can enjoy it.
Are you excited about this year's game? That's the last thing I want to ask you.
I'm never really excited. So like, even though I'm getting the game day one every year, I'm never really like looking forward to that. I'm just like, okay, here we go, another 2K. And I'm gonna play it. Like I play a good amount every time, but I never am like, oh, let's go. 2K comes out in however much time.
You're always being upsold. You're always have to buy this to unlock this in the game. That shit is kind of annoying. But again, this brings you back to the point. And that's why I love you having this conversation, Brian. What's the tipping point, man? You've been seeing since 21, 6, 6, 6, 6. It's an okay game. They're not trashing the product. They're not saying it's a bad product, because 2K has not been a bad product, which I'd agree with. They're saying it's an average product.
I'm just kind of like over the current game. You know what I mean? So like having a fresh product, quote unquote fresh, we'll see how fresh it actually is cool. But other than that, like, yeah, it's a monopoly, man. I just wish there was actual, like real competition so that they could actually make the game better. This marginal stuff is not really doing it for me. But I'm gonna buy either way. Day one, they got me.
But yeah, are people gonna stop buying? That's the key. Because if 2K Studios continues to make the money they're making every year about the same, and they're not saying nothing's going to change.
We know how this goes.
Yeah,
people talk with their wallets, with their eyes, with their money. Like that's what it comes down to.
Especially if you're buying it day one, right? Yes. And they're getting that full 70
2K day. If people still celebrate 2K day, then you're not going to get a product change. So if there are people who want to support this game, go ahead and support the game. If there are people who vehemently do not want to support this game, then the message basically is like, all right, don't. This is with anything else. If enough people are on one side of something, then yes, you could invoke change. It's just, it's usually not how that one goes. If I do get it, I'm waiting for, like I did last year, Black Friday. I'll just get it on sale because I'm not rushing to play it. And when you get sports games too early, like the rosters need to be updated relative to like the beginning of the season. Like playing Madden, for example, as soon as you get it is a nightmare because guys break out in the first couple weeks of the year, and then you look at them in your franchise mode and they're sitting at a 66 overall. The same shit happens in 2K. Most of the updates are like my team stuff. I don't play my team. I know it makes me sound older than I am.
You're a man of integrity for not playing my team.
It's not for me. It's not for me. My nephew's really into it. He's like 11 years old. All right. I'm less than 20 years older than him, but I'm significantly older than him. I don't play my team. I can't do it.
Yeah, I feel like it's for kids. I'm not going to lie to you. I mean, look, man, I'm not going to judge you if you play it, but it's just so cheesy. And that's why I like quick play. Again, I'm a 2K boomer when it comes to this because it's not, with my team, I don't know what like all these players are going to be good at. Quick play online, I know what these NBA players are good and not good at, yes. So I could have a scouting report and a game plan going against certain teams, and like I know what I'm going up against. In my career, I mean, like playing Park or Rec, it's so like the game is it's so cheesy at times, and I don't want to be like that much of a victim to the cheese. And I feel like that's where quick play is like the most pure. Again, not perfect by any means.
Sure.
Still has its own cheese. But just when you're comparing to like my career and rec and specifically my team, yeah, it's definitely the pure form of 2K.
Okay, so thank you to Dex, Jeff, and Alex for their conversations and their thoughts on 2K this year. What I'm going to do as it relates to this game is I'm going to wait and see. I saw that FIBA is going to be incorporated in some way, and that is enough to at least get me to wait and see. I'm not going to be there at launch. I may be there by the time Black Friday comes around. Maybe I'll wait for that sale. I did that last year. There's been reporting on a FIBA feature that's going to be in My Player. I saw that FIBA under 19 was being thrown around as well. And I did see that there are some rosters, saw Canada, Serbia, Germany, Team USA. And if you're on this channel, you may know that I love international basketball. Love it. I love international basketball even more than I love the NBA. I'm not even joking, because country versus country just hits different than club versus club. And also watch the Euro Cup, watch the Puerto Rico BSN that just had the finals last week. A great finals that Caguas won, my father's childhood team, and just other leagues around the world in Australia and China and things of that nature. So incorporating FIBA is a big win for me, but I want to see how it's done and if it's enough to sort of get me in this game this year. And then ultimately just want to read some reviews and see how it goes. But, you know, it does feel like the franchise is at a stagnant point, and I do think that they need to sort of mix it up a little bit, take some chances, and not just put a ton of resources into my team, so to speak. So it looks like My Player is going to be a little bit fresher this year, and I'd be curious to see how that's going to look, because I do enjoy My Player when the storyline is at least good, and incorporating international play is something that can get an international basketball nut like me to be invested in the game. So let me know what you think. Let me know if you're going to buy 2K this year, if you're going to give it a spin, if you're going to be there at launch, or you're going to wait or potentially skip out this year. Let me know in the comments. Please like, rate, review, subscribe, trying out different things here, and going to drop some more stuff coming up, especially as the NBA season gets around here and the boxing's picking back up. Now you Inoue just fought. May drop a video on that. Definitely will after Canelo Alvarez and Edgar Berlanga fight next week. So thank you for watching, and we'll talk again very soon.